Describe a domino effect. Hey everybody, welcome to the Whole Truth Bible Study, where I am taking you through the entire Bible from Genesis all the way to Revelation without skipping anything. So if that sounds good to you, make sure that you reach down, hit the subscribe button below, and you can go over to thewholetruthbiblestudy.com and find all of the videos in one convenient location. So if you're looking for something specific from Genesis all the way up until where we are today, Numbers chapter 32, you can find all of them at thewholetruthbiblestudy.com. Plus, there's free Bible studies over there, and there's ways to support the channel as I am on a mission to get as many people into God's Word as possible. And so if you want to support that, you can do it over at thewholetruthbiblestudy.com. Now, today, Numbers 32 and verse 6 is where we're picking up. Do you remember what happened in the last video? Do you remember what happened in Numbers 32, 1-5? The people of Israel are on the brink. They are literally on the edge of going into the promised land. And a group, Gad and Reuben, and we'll find out a little later in Numbers 32, half of the tribe of Manasseh, have requested to not go into the promised land. Now, their reasoning for that, I think we should take them at their word. I stated that in the last video. Their reasoning for that is because the land that they're looking at before they cross over is good grazing land, and they have flocks. They said, look, this is good. This is good land. We've got sheep. We've got ox, we've got animals, and this is good land for that. This is good land for them to graze on. So how about we just stay on this side? Moses has something to say about that. And this is where we pick up Numbers 32 and verse 6. And Moses said to the children of Gad and to the children of Reuben, shall your brethren go to war while you sit here? Now, why will you discourage the heart of the children of Israel from going over into the land which the Lord has given them? Thus your fathers did when I sent them away from Kadesh Barnea to see the land. For when they went up to the valley of Escol and saw the land, they discouraged the heart of the children of Israel, so that they did not go into the land which the Lord had given them. So the Lord's anger was aroused on that day, and he swore an oath, saying, surely none of the men who came up from Egypt from 20 years old and above shall see the land of which I swore to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, because they have not wholly followed me, except Caleb the son of Jephunneh the Kenizzite, and Joshua the son of Nun. For they have wholly followed the Lord. So the Lord's anger was aroused against Israel, and he made them wander in the wilderness 40 years until all the generation that had done evil in the sight of the Lord was gone. And look, you have risen in your father's place a brood of sinful men to increase still more the fierce anger of the Lord against Israel. For if you turn away from following him, he will once again leave them in the wilderness, and you will destroy all these people. Shoo! Scathing words, to say the least. These two tribes, 2.5 tribes, Gad and Reuben, half the tribe of Manasseh, came and requested, could we just stay on this side of the river instead of going into the promised land? And Moses says, why would you do this? First of all, he says, are you going to leave your brethren to go fight? They've already had, if you've been following this story with me, Israel has already had a couple of battles. They've had a couple of fights, and they've won several victories at this point. They're winning, and they're getting ready to go into the promised land, but that's not going to come without a fight. It's not like the people of Canaan are just going to go running. God tells them they have to go in and go fight for this. Moses says, are you going to leave your brethren to go fight while you stay on this side of the river? And then he goes on to say, this is exactly what happened before. He says in verse 7, he says, are you going to discourage the heart of the children of Israel from going over into the land which the Lord has shown them? Thus your fathers did when I sent them away to Kadesh Barnea. Moses is having a flashback. They're getting ready to go into the promised land, and these 2.5 tribes come up and say, we don't want to go into the promised land. We want to stay here because this is good grazing land. This is good for our flocks. Hey, we've got flocks, and this is good land for that. So let us stay on this side of the Jordan. And Moses, it's like he's got PTSD that just kicks in. I don't know that for certain. I'm not saying he had PTSD, but I'm just saying, like, for effect, like it's what it seems like. He just goes, this is what your fathers did. Remember, we've been wandering for 39 years. We've been wondering. It'll be 40 by the time they go in. Now, here's an interesting thing for you. When this airs, when this video that I'm making right now, when it airs, it's my birthday. And guess how old I am? 39 years old. And now here I am, 39 years old, and I'm thinking to myself, I cannot imagine if my parents, when my mom was pregnant with me, had refused to go into the promised land. And I've been hearing this story my whole life. We wandered through the wilderness. I have always eaten manna. I've been a part of it as God has brought water from the rocks so that we could have something to drink. I have seen a very hard life in that regard. I think back my entire life, my childhood, the home I grew up in, like all of that. If I just think of like that time span of all of that to now be on the border of the promised land and to almost do the exact same thing again and say, I'm not certain I want to go in. Can we just have this land over here? And so I think that first of all, we need to address remembering what has already happened. You see, God wants us to remember. We could go through his word. I have a study that I've done, a worldview study. It's actually going to be on that Bible study series over at thewholetruthbiblestudy.com. I've got one that I speak on history as a worldview, and that God has an interest in history. He wants us to remember the things that have happened because he wants to encourage us for what's going to happen next. I think that there's a danger with us humans thinking that somehow we won't repeat the same mistake that's already happened. We do this on a national level. We see this nationally often. I have no fear in saying I see this very same thing in socialism and communism, as I see especially the younger generation brings up socialism and brings up communism as if these are viable ways to operate a country. And what we have seen, pragmatically, what we have seen is that every time you bring in socialism, every time you bring it, socialism ushers in communism, and those never end well. As a matter of fact, many times they end even in genocide. They end with atrocities, even against nations' own people. We just don't see that run well, do we? When we think that, now, here we go, like somebody's going to come in the comments, or what about Sweden? Okay, well, listen, I have lots that I could say about that, but that's not the point of the video. What I'm trying to say is I think that there is a danger in forgetting that someone before us has fallen to something. This is the same thing that happens on an individual level with somebody who thinks that they won't become addicted to a substance that they've watched many other people fall to that addiction. Do you see what I'm saying? There's a danger in this idea that you won't do the same thing. That's what Moses was reminding them. You are asking to do the same thing that just caused us to wander for the last 39 years. Did I make sense of what I'm saying to you? Be cautious to think that you won't fall for the same thing that you either fell for before, or maybe that others before you have fallen for. We should learn from those things, not fall to the same. But there's another danger too in this text, and it's the last point I want to make for today, which is that Moses warned them about discouraging the hearts of the rest of Israel, because that's what happened before. What happened before was that Moses reminded them this. I sent in the spies, 12 spies went in, 10 of them came out, and 10 people discouraged 2 million people from going into the promised land. They refused to go into the promised land, and that's why we've been wandering for the last 39 years, because just 10 people discouraged everybody. This is Moses talking to the tribe of Gad and the tribe of Reuben and the half of tribe of Manasseh, and saying, if you 2.5 tribes, if you all stay on this side of the Jordan and you discourage everybody from going in other words, what if all 12 tribes pop up? What if all 12 tribes say, hey, this is good looking land over here. This is good enough. It's good enough. Hey, why do we need to cross? This is good. This is good right here. We'll stay right here. What if all of them said that? What if they said, there's plenty of room for us over here. We'll just build the cities. We don't have to take over the cities that are already in Canaan. We'll just build our own. What if everyone took that opinion, and what if everybody said that? Oh, what happens if the actions of these 2.5 tribes discourage the hearts of everyone else? That's what Moses was worried about. It wasn't just about these 2.5 tribes, but it was also, what if everybody else joins in? And what if their actions discourage everyone else? Hey, will you hear this? Your actions have consequences beyond yourself. What you do affects others. And it would be a great sin. It would be a great sin for these Israelite people to stay on this side and watch the other 9.5 tribes go fight for the land while they just stayed back. That would have been a sin in and of itself, but an even greater sin if they end up being the discouragement that brought about the destruction of a whole nother generation of people. They've already had a whole generation die off in the wilderness, and now the only people that are going in are those who were 20 years old and younger back when their parents did that way back 39 years ago. And now it's those people. So those people are potentially 60. We have people that are between 40 and 60 years old who were at the beginning, who are now getting ready to go into the promised land. And if they make the same mistake again, oh, what a great sin that would be. Friends, would you consider the fact that not only the things that you do affect yourself, but they affect your family, your kids, even your parents, your aunts, your uncles, your friends, your friend group? You have an effect on other people, and what you do matters. And you don't want to be the one discouraging the hearts of other people. Remember what Jesus said about the little children? He said it'd be better that a millstone would be tied around somebody's neck than that they would cause one of the children to stumble, right? You don't want to cause the child of God to stumble. You don't want to be the cause of someone else's stumbling. So not only is it your own self that you're concerned for, but it's the hearts of everyone else. You don't want to discourage them either. In the reverse, you can encourage them too. Your actions can be infectious in a good way. They can be inspiring, where what you do inspires others to come along with you and to do the same. And that's what I would encourage you to do. Be the one rallying the troops, not convincing the troops to stay behind. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and I hope you come back tomorrow as we see the response to Moses' response. That'll happen tomorrow. I'll see you then.